Let's kick those off. Let everyone know we're going. All right, so let's get the engine open. We'll post that we're live, and then we'll do a kickoff of what we're doing today. Here we go. So let's just do a brief recap, then we'll go over what we've been doing, what we will be doing today. Welcome everyone, hope you're doing good. My eyes. Give the ball my salute. Well, I should get the YouTube chat open as well. Let me bring that over in my thing. Hey Bagdawn, how you doing? Yeah, I used to have a different name, but we've rebranded. Yeah, I had my sort of like born again Christian moment like 6 months ago, if you will. So, I've been, yeah, I took a break. Basically, if you want to see the full details on that, go over to Twitch and check the VOD that we did on Sunday, and that'll give you all of the juicy details, where I've been, what I've been doing, what's the new direction, why, and why for all the different things, big changes, the new plan, stuff like that. And obviously we've got Discord channel, we're gonna come and talk off stream about that as well. But yeah. Hey Zen, good to see you, sir. Hope you're doing good. So last stream we got this sky shader in, right? It looks kind of nice, doesn't it? Well, it's a bit overexposed. But so this is the reason why we're doing today's stream. So it didn't look like this when I was doing it. We put a bit of a hack in. But effectively what you can imagine is when you have very bright content like a sun or a light, right? You've got to try and display that on the screen. And what the values that what am I doing my terminal? The values that the values that displays would historically support, I guess is the way we would say it, is values from 0 to 1, or not really actually, 0 to 255 if you get what I mean. But as a normalized value, it'd be 0 to 1 like that, right? And they'll convert it to sRGB, right, and send that to the display, done. But in games, when you do your rendering and your graphics, your lighting information can actually go up very, very high. It can go up to like maybe 10,000, right? So how do you get nice on the screen? Because if you clamp it, it just looks white, right, like we're seeing here. So if we grab if we open up the texture viewer, we can see here's the sky image, maybe. Yeah, here's the sky. So see my white valley. If we put it at 1, it clamps it to 1 base. Yeah, it clamps off of yeah, so essentially this black white will scale it such that 0 is where black is and 1 is where white is. So if we put white at 32, that would map to 1 and then go out to convert to 255 in sRGB when we put it out onto the screen, right? So notice how now it's made it much nicer, right? We can see it a bit better, but if we go up a bit further, there we go. To maybe like 100. Maybe 10,000 was a bit too high, but yeah, there's somewhere like above 100. These values can go to. Maybe it can go even higher. Just depends how bright it is. So essentially what we need to be able to do is remap all colors or the brightness of a color down such that it can go out to the display and look nice. So this is what's known as tone mapping, basically. So there's different curves. There's different curves. Like I think one of those popular ones for a long time was the filmic curve. I think it was called. See if we can get an image for it. So essentially, yeah, here's a good one, I think. I think this is good. So you got your input, I think, on the left. I don't know anymore. Yeah, I think it's your input here and then you get your output here. I think it's that way around. I'm not sure. So the dotted line is nothing basically, right? You get 0.6 in, you get 0.6 out. Whereas right, an sRGB space would be this curve here. But the filmic curve sort of does something like this. Now, oh, is that right? Yeah. Such that those values which go above, is that right though? Yeah. Such from the value of 0.8 as an input, that will actually map. Oh, it's the other way around, isn't it? Yeah, value of 1 is from the scene would map to 0.8 when it goes out on the screen, right? So those values that go above 1 in brightness will actually remap to a value from in between 0.8 to 1, right? So that's how you basically get those very bright colors to come down and be so you can tell the difference between all those different bright pixels basically. Because if not, as we saw, if you don't sort of have a tone mapper, it just goes very white very quickly everywhere. And what happens when you use when you modify those, you get an image like this, right? When you essentially dampen the brightness, you get an image like this. So rather than just dividing the brightness or the color basically dampening all of it, you can typically a tone mapper takes a curve such that only the brighter pixels really get affected, if you will, or the brightest range gets affected, but the one in the middle kind of stays the same, and the dark ones do as well, I think. There's all different types of curves that you can use, and it does come with problems. Like I'm not an expert on this sort of stuff, but there's different problems with tone mapping. I think there's a shader toy for it. There's many different algorithms you can use. Yeah, it's going through many different ones here. It's going to linear, expose, yeah, Reinhard, U2. I'm not sure why that got very bright though. Oh, you can choose how, okay, based on how bright the scene is as well. Did you see they look different, right? Cool. So the one that we're going to be using is kind of a newer one. It's called, this was done for Gran Turismo 7, and it's open source. And it's sort of known as like a physically based tone mapper. There was a paper on it or a blog about it. I'm not sure. I forget. But this basically, if you look at the images for it, there's a presentation on it. It solves a problem. Well, I don't know if solves. It maybe minimizes a problem known as hue twisting. So if you were just to bring the colors down, I think sometimes it would change how the color it wouldn't really preserve how the color would actually look if you were to just, I'm not sure about it. Yeah, I'm not sure the best way to explain it, but basically avoids this sort of like other tone mappers exhibit this sort of problem. Whereas I think it changes the RGB RGB channels individually maybe such that it looks a bit better, than doesn't just create like maybe oranges or yellows out of nowhere, maybe. Anyways, and the reason why I'm using this one is because there's a second problem to solve. So the main one that the games use and film use is ACES. Now ACES is more than just a tone mapper. There's like a color, there's like a color management standard, if you will. But yeah, so cinematic stuff use this for tone mapping, and yeah, it has its problems. So another one is AGX. So I think ACS typically looks darker, I think, than most other ones. And no tone mapper looks like this. Sorry, ACS is this one. AGX is like this one. So AGX typically looks like much softer. As you can tell, these lights are very soft, whereas ACS sort of like, oh, if I can drag over here for you guys. But doing like an ACS is very cheap. AGX is a bit more complicated of an algorithm. But the great thing about ACS is there's code online to do it in HDR. And this is the reason why we want to use GT7's tone mapper, is because it has a SDR and a HDR tone mapper. So displays are more than just SDR now, or output to sRGB. You can also do output to HDR. So this gives you more range. The screen can output brighter pixels. So HDR allows us to do that. It gives us a render target of a 11, 11, 10, I think it is. Rather, yeah, 11, 11, 10 float, I think it is. It might be a sort of a unorm. I forget. We'll have to see. But this is in the PQ format. And then classic, is it 11, 11, 10? It might actually be 10, 10, 2. 10, 10, 10, 2. But anyway, we'll find that out in a minute, whatever it is. But the standard sRGB, it's an sRGB, right? So this is the one that you use by default. So this gives us more, allows us to output in nits, I think it is, or something like this. So actually like the brightness of a pixel. And HDR displays support a wider range of brightness, basically. Now, so what we need is a tone mapper that can provide similar look and feel across HDR and SDR displays. So what we could use ACS because there is a HDR one of that. Someone done it. The code's available. I think it's there is code online for it. He's got to find it. But equally, we could just use GT7's one. It's the new one, and it looks nicer than ACES. But there is code for it. Gotta find it. There's the code right there. So that's all it is. This is the C++ though, so I think it does it like on an image on CPU. So obviously we just need to adjust it and make it work for yeah. Anyway, we'll have a look at this license, and then well, it's MIT, isn't it? So we'll say the tone mapper. We'll get that in the attribution. So tone mapper GT7. MIT. It's for a polyphony digital. Okay, it's just another one in there like that. Cool. Into 2025. There we go. Rightio. So what we're going to do first is output HDR. Now, for you guys on stream, you guys will not see HDR content because when I encode it to Twitch, it actually has its own sort of like tone mapping phase inside OBS, which then sends it over to you guys. So I could actually put a tone mapper into OBS and you would see a sort of you would see less clamped content, but I think it's clamped. So just basically cuts everything off, so everything looks very white if it goes to HDR. So I'm actually running on a HDR display right now, and you can tell by just going into your settings and seeing if the HDR is on, basically here. Now, what we need to look at is in Vulkan is how do we enable HDR, right? What do we do? Should we do that first or should we do the tone mapper? Actually, yeah, what should we do first? I think the tone mapper might be easier to do. I think this would be, yeah, and then we can get HDR working. Because we've got to do output to PQ and stuff like this, maybe. Hey, Gietha. Yeah, potentially. This is the holy engine. Yeah, the hero's engine. For Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But yeah, I've been a Christian for a while, but not necessarily probably a born again Christian. And like, I think 7 months ago, or whatever it was now, maybe longer, I started taking it more seriously and became probably born again Christian at that point. So, yeah, a rebrand was due. But yeah, if you're interested in seeing like all the specifics around that, there's a stream which was done on Sunday. You can check out the VOD channel and give that a watch. Highly recommend doing as many squats as you can whilst you watch that video. No jokes. And yeah, so where I've been, what I've been doing, and what we're doing with the project now. Yeah, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. Ooh. Okay. Let's take a look through this code a bit. What's going on here? So, right, they got a smooth step implementation. Stuff's getting serious. Oh, they got a structure with some classes, with some methods rather. Peak intensity is a midpoint. All right, evaluate curve. ST, right, 2084 PQ. Interesting. I didn't realize that was another name for PQ. I thought it was like Rec 2100. All right. Right. This is pretty manageable. And there's an inverse function for it. Nice. This would be cool. So, yeah, I don't know what to do. Should we put this tone mapper in post-processing code? Or GT7 tone mappings. This is GT what? This was the original GT tone mapping curve. Right, so yeah, so they had one before, but obviously you want the 7 one. Right. Or initialize parameters, or there's HDR parameters. Right. Cool. Applied tone mapping. That's going to be easy. That's cool. I like it. Nice and easy. Every day. Yes, it seems like they do the different channels separately. Although they've got this curve thing. Oh, okay, it's a mapping curve. Okay, okay. Right, so let's have a port this. Right. So let's get into the code base. So we've got this sort of like post we haven't got a post-processing shader yet. So that's probably going to be required. Let's take a look at the how do we render stuff to the screen then? So you only want to be tone mapping the scene when you're done with it, right? So render meshes, let's look for that, then shading. So after shading, we probably want to do the post processing, I guess. And then here's where we actually render it to the screen. So it does it through the UI system. So if we make one a post-processing one, okay. So again, we'll just make another shader. So post processing, or we could just call it post process, just to make it a little bit shorter. So destination image. So if we have one as, yeah, I think we want to put it on a different image though. Yeah, so when we have bloom, what does that do? Bloom. Yeah, I think, we'll just have to put another image, but maybe we can, anyway. Yeah, we'll just have to put another one. Doesn't matter. So, no visibility buffer anymore. No sky image. Guess we'll use the scene dims. So I think we'll call it like scene post-process image, something like that. Yep. And we'll do graphics post-process. Something like that ought to be good enough. There we go. So make another structure share between CPU and GPU code. And it's going to be a 16, 16, 16, 16 HDR image. Yeah, what do we want to... Yeah, so we can... is that right? Because maybe we could squish it out early. Is that going to be sensible? Yeah, I was wondering, could we compact it down into a... yeah, because in the UI, it already kind of does something. What does it do? UI encode to surface. Yep. So this is the one which will take a linear image. Okay. Yes, the UI is done in 16, 16, 16 float as well. And this is when it encodes it out. Right. Okay, so I think we'll keep it. Yeah, we can worry about that stuff later. I guess it's a bit of an optimization thing. So we'll make a new shader. So we'll go to code, modules, graphics, Vulkan, shaders. And I think we'll copy the scene shade because it's the easiest one. Yeah, maybe we should call it scene shade. Yeah, scene post-process, scene. Something like that. Now, let's go over to the build script. Lovely. Cool. Right, so post-process, this is where we're going to do the tone map now. So we can grab all that lovely code and port it over basically. So I think we'll yeah, so we want like a tone map curve. So GT tone map curve. I guess we'll call it V2. No, it's just a bunch of floating points. Now GT, well, we should probably call it GT7 since we'll call that a tone mapping curve, tone map, maybe curve. Cool, tone map curve V2. Now it has this sort of initialization stuff where it does each and every one of these things one by one. What does the how does that look like? Yeah, so I guess these are all configurable. Depending on what you're looking for. So maybe we could output those onto some sliders and drag them around, see how it looks. Interesting. I wonder if there's any I want to shade a toy maybe. No, this is to that's just the GT, not GT7. Yeah, here it is here. Yeah, we should probably do something like this at some point. The attempt, an attempt to port it. Don't take it too seriously. But I guess, yeah, just use the same hard-coded values anyway. Cool. Yeah, I guess we'll just put these guys in here. Hey, the Markham, how you doing? How you doing? Yeah, change the username. That's right. Yeah, so if you want to see the stuff behind that, I got a previous stream on Sunday. On the VOD channel. On the VOD channel, sorry. Previous stream on Twitch. If you go back and you can see, there's a couple hour stream or something like that, where we go over basically where I've been, what I've been doing, and what we're doing from now on. But yeah, I got a new studio company, and yeah. Here we go. The peak intensity. It's interesting, they use different names as input names and then anyway. Was the channel name different before? Yeah. So I took a break from about when was it? July? June? Last year. So the name was different. Hey Captain Chica, how you doing? Good to see you, it's been a while. How's everyone's time been since then? What you guys been up to? Isn't the world going crazy these days? Or crazier? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Kerneling the kernel as usual. Amazing. Yes, the idea is that we want to be making basically more Christian-based content. So Christian game in the end. So we're building an engine. Just a minimal one just to get going. To be used for basically Christian games or video media as well. But that I'm just open to that idea basically. Nothing you call it peak intensity. Why do they call it peak the monitor? No idea. Hang on a minute. The curve in it. But yeah, obviously you got to be very careful because the thing is yeah, so the thing is like over the, quite a lot of Christian content a lot of the time just gets it's quite I guess simple. Sometimes it's just not as good as a more sort of secular based content as well. Like it doesn't um or it's yeah. The also game will it be? Not quite sure just yet. Needs to still pray about it. But I've had some ideas, but yeah, just needs to pray about it. Really. But I'm just getting into a place where we can actually build some content in the engine. Make it look nice. But yeah, one that providing. So the thing is most Christian content. Here's a problem. Some problem with it is like, um, obviously you really want to tell the gospel story, right? It's very important story, obviously, because that's what gets people saved, right? But oftentimes it's just sort of like entry level Christianity or stuff like this. So it makes people think um, Christianity is very simple and surface level. Um, and retelling the same four stories over and over again, which are again are important, but Christianity is a lot deeper than that, especially as you become like a born again Christian. There's so many things like you know, so many things on like the spiritual side of things, and um, if you like read your Bible as well, there's quite a lot of things which people just skip over basically and don't really pay attention to, if you will. So if it gets to do something a little bit different, but also not to, but also still point people in the direction of getting saved as well. But we'll see. Gotta pray about it. The crusade. I don't know if the crusade is necessarily what I'm talking about. Hang on, Mr. Dick still. Good to see you. So the crusade is not even in the Bible, obviously, right? Isn't the crusades like a Catholic thing as well? But yeah, I get obviously it had its time and place. The Crusades. My understanding of that in history is not too good, to be fair, but it served a purpose. And it had some things which are wrong about it as well. Like I think the Catholics went around and killed a bunch of Protestants in the homeland. So anyways, I think there was like tons of different crusades as well. So particular denomination. That's a good question. So um, typically, well, I go to a Pentecostal. So that's kind of like, you know, the thing is about these denominations is they're very they're obviously designed to put people in boxes, but oftentimes people don't really adhere 100% to their denomination at the same time as well. And also definitions are also different depending on what person you ask. Um, like for instance, like a Catholic, right? You think of Catholicism, you think they follow like the what is it called? The cata is it the cataclysm? The Catholic, like what, there's a one version of Catholicism. But then like you speak to each individual Catholic person, they might not follow all of those things exactly. Yes, I'm Pentecostal is what I go to. That's one that my wife went to, so we go there. So it's all about there's extra focus around the basically like the Holy Spirit and the speaking in tongues things and stuff like that. But um, I've heard some stories of people saying you need to like, some Pentecostal people believe you have to speak in tongues to get saved, which is not true. Um, which is not true, right? But it's sort of like when you don't read your Bible and understand your Bible, it can sort of feel that way in ways, right? But it clearly says in the Bible, right, you're saved not of works, faith alone. Um, but yeah, it's always what is in the Bible first, right? If you can't find it in the Bible, got to try and figure out like where it comes from, and if it's I think everything has to be rooted basically in the Bible, to some degree, even if it's just hinted at. It has to be sort of in there. I think some of the things that the Orthodox people do, they're quite similar to the Catholics, is they point to some of the stuff by the early church fathers and they go like, hey, look, but the early church fathers said this about this place in the Bible. And rather than sort of reading their Bible and trying to understand it, they take some sort of like past interpretation by some early church father. And they don't seem to think that the early church father could have misunderstood the text. So they end up basically saying when Jesus says you must eat my body and drink my blood, they think that's like a literal thing of taking the Holy Communion or the Eucharist as they call it, and you have to do that work to be saved, which is not true. If you read the rest of John 8, you find out the answer. But yeah, it's just interesting. Just be careful with that stuff, those boxes. Just read the Bible first, and yeah. But obviously, have a look around, see which is the best kind of church to go to, though. That's for sure. Um, yeah. What denomination do you go to there? Trinidad Hope. Bible in a year plan, right? That's interesting. Yeah, I've heard so many people do the Bible in a year plan, and they get to like, what's the thing they get to? Is it like Leviticus or something like that? They go Genesis. Yeah, obviously you got Exodus, then Leviticus, isn't it? And that's when you start reading out all the laws. Yeah, but even in Exodus, he builds the tabernacle, right? Um, and do all the dimensions. Then Leviticus does the laws, and then is it Deuteronomy? I forget. But we keep on talking about building the tabernacle, and it just goes on for so long, and people just give up. That's a fun one. Yeah, exactly. But it's very worth reading though, Leviticus. Like especially some of the stuff with like the Sabbath years and stuff like that. Like, you know, Like if you think about the debt system we have these days, no one really, the debt system always wins. It's designed just to get people in debt. And then people are like, well, if you're in debt, you're stupid. It's like, well, it's like you can it's a comfortable trade sometimes because you can be like, well, if I borrow this money now and it's at no interest, and if I pay it all off okay, I'm getting like the value of, and I pay it off over like 4 years, and if the money inflates, I win, right? And so there's sometimes it's like a bit of a bet, isn't it? But yeah, what was I saying? So there's like today with like the debt system, you see all this debt that countries are in, it just keeps going up and up and up, and no one can pay it off. Well, if you go to the Bible in Leviticus, they talk about a man, if he owes debt to someone, can only last up to 7 years, and then it's just forgiven. And then like every 50th year, so it's known as Jubilee year, all debt is forgiven globally, no matter when you started borrowing it. And you also have to like rest the land for a year and not have to work. And it just goes to show that God is going to provide enough yield for you to last those extra days and stuff like that. And on the Sabbath year, it's like 2 years or something like that of rest. Sorry, on the Jubilee year, it's 2 years of rest because there's a Sabbath and a Jubilee year as well. So there's lots of fun stuff there. And you think if we did some of that stuff today, it's like there's grace and mercy within our system. Whereas now we don't really have grace and mercy. Like if someone gets caught in credit card debt, like that's a real big punishment to pay off sometimes, We need more grace and mercy. That's what we need. So yeah, bring back the Sabbath year, I think. You're born Hindu, fair play, but I'm yeah, so you come from that religion with like 1,000 gods or whatever it is, or like a million or whatever. But plan to convert to Christianity. Awesome. Very nice. Have you researched into like um yeah, have you read from the New Testament yet? Because essentially like that's the place with the answers. There's another way you can read the Bible, right? So you can read, some people start from they have a tab in Genesis and a tab in Psalms and a tab in Matthew, and they'll read one chapter a day from each of those tabs. So there's like three streams of reading, like at the beginning of the Old Testament, kind of a bit in the middle of the Old Testament, and from the New Testament. And effectively, if you read all of those at the same time, you basically complete them all at a similar amount of time as well. And that's another good way to read it. And the reason why you can look at that, doing it that way, is because you kind of get to the answers a bit quicker when it comes to Jesus, because at the end of the day, you're saved by Jesus Christ. And if you're coming from another religion, you kind of want to get to the answers a bit quicker because Jesus could come at any moment. And if you take a look at the world these days, it's looking pretty close. But yeah. But you can always get saved at any time. There is obviously just believing in Jesus Christ is the way to salvation. It's not of works, lest anyone should boast. Ephesians 2 verse 9, 10. Well, 8 to 9, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's the one with the elephant god. Yeah, yes, that's right. That's one of the main ones in Hindu. Christianity was always part of my life, though. Fair enough. For instance, my parents sent me to Christianity primary school and always felt the pull. Amazing. Awesome. So see, that's the thing. What you find out is all these other religions, they have like many gods, and the many gods seems, a lot of them have like pitfalls, or they're not really like as seem to be like a powerful thing. Whereas if you see in Christianity, it's like all these other gods are not really gods, and there's only one God who is just, you know, there's none greater than him, and holy as well. Whereas in other religions, a god can be evil, and stuff like this. Whereas God in the Bible, it's like evil is not anything to do with him, basically. Um, yeah, I found that interesting. Like when I look at other religions, even like the Canaanite religion, when with like Baal and all that, you know, it's crazy, crazy. Hey VMT, how you doing, sir? Right, smooth step. I'm converting classes to we're gonna return a C, I think. Yeah, we're gonna return a C. Lovely. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what toe strength is, right? what what is a toe strength? Is it like tone map strength, but they decided to shorten it to toe strength? We'll keep it as toe strength, I guess. But it just looks a bit odd. Toe mapped. Yeah, it looks a bit like. Why drop the N? Mm-hmm. I will drop these. The peak intensity. So the one. What's this weight linear thing? Okay, good, good. Where's the any other one? So where's that sort of linear section? Right, I've got it here. Cool. So I wonder, it does this curve once for each channel, didn't it? I think. So you got that sort of curve structure, if you will, with some functions. Oh no, it initializes it, and then when you do the actual tone mapping, it does 3 separate curves on 3 different, yes, it's per channel tone mapping, and then it does some kind of combination, if you will, of those. Yeah, cool. Rightio. So let's get the next bit in there. So the next one is, guess all this. When I read that, it's sort of like jazz something, you know, when I could read that quick. Unified color space, ICTDP or JZAZDP. Butchered that, but perceptually uniform color space for image signals, including high dynamic range, wide lot. Okay. We'll get those in. Lovely. Let's have a look at this. So, yeah, it's converted from C++ to GLSL, so it's not too bad. Just, I'll leave a lot of it as it is, just, I think we can do that. Oh, what's that physical frame buffer value? So Gran Turismo Luminance Scale Conversion Helpers. So 1 in linear frame buffer space corresponds to luminance. Is that like Candela or whatever it's called? To me, yeah. I forgot what it's called now. It's like a Candela's, yeah, per square meter of luminance, typically 100. Right, fair play. Right, I guess we'll just do those. Right, so this one doesn't really have to change. Yeah, these don't have to change either. Right, it's a pointer, so we've got to change that clearly. What a shame. RGB, so it's obviously just a vector 3 on it. That'll work as is. Input linear rec 2020, fair play. Oh, crap. Right. So we want to do like a RGB, that's it. Cool. Lovely. Same thing here. Cool. Right, so vec3 jab, for whatever reason that is. Vec3 RGB. Lovely. Cool. Right, so this basically wraps between these two things, right? I feel like it would be nice to have these exposed to some kind of like settings basic, or you know, have them as some sort of settings in the game or sliders, because there's a few stuff which is you can change in this tone mapper. Right, okay. Now, the problem is it's taking in Right, let's do the multi-cursor thing. Cool. Lovely. So this is the last one now, just this whole structure, then we can start using it. Shouldn't be too bad. Cool, so on a tone map, let's call it tone map, GT7 tone map. I guess we'll just leave a lot of this stuff alone. Just so we get it in quicker. So we'll just have an initializer. So physical target luminance. So we'll just call it T as a little local. I think it's missing stuff still. Right, so this initialized curve would be okay, yeah. So it's T dot curve equal GT7 tone map curve. I think I will call it in the end. Curve in it. I think we'll just curve. Oh, curve V2. Okay. It wasn't tone mapping curves. I called it tone map curve in the end to make it a bit short. Right, cool. So there we go. Some default parameters, lovely and lovely. So initialize your vector 3, RGB. So you could just do it with one of them. And then vec3 UCS. Use the first component as luminance. Okay. Cool, that's looking nice. So you can initialize as HDR or initialize as SDR. So I think in this case, well, we could have provided an enum, but then you don't have enums in GLSR. So I guess we'll make a boolean called is HDR. You know, I could always change it though, but anyway, so there's this SDR correction factor. So if is HDR, then we want to take, then initialize it with different physical. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Physical target luminance, interesting. Maybe you get that from, I wonder where you get that from in HDR then, I guess we'll find that out. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So we can now delete these functions. Right, okay, maybe not. HDR input nits from 500 to 10,000, but I think isn't it always 10,000? For PQ, I think it is, right? The lower limit is 250 because parameters. Because the parameters for this curve thing was determined based on the SDR paper white assumption of 250 nits. Right, okay. Okay. So regarding SDR output, first in Gran Turismo, it assumed that the maximum value of 1 in SDR corresponds to 250 nits. Therefore, tone mapping for SDR output is performed based on 250 nits. However, in sRGB standard, 1 corresponds to 100 nits. So we need to undo the tone mapped values accordingly to match the sRGB range. Huh. Right, maybe not. Maybe we'll have you know what? We'll have an underscore version. No, we won't. We'll just grab the comment. No, we won't. Well, you support in-out parameters, don't you? You do in-out, GDSL, in-out. Yeah, I think you can do in-out function parameters. So that's the AI probably better at it. Yeah, I guess so. Okay. So we'll just return that. We'll make a lovely underscore version up there, which we'll call in here. So tone map HDR. Nice. And then we just have the so regarding SDR output, yep, that's fine. So that'll just be SDR here. Cool. And then the applied tone mapping. So we can just bring this all in. Oh, bring this all in here like that, which would be nice. Then finally the last function, the tone map function, and then we can do the rest. We'll test out pretty soon now. So input is Rec 2020. Output. That's pretty cool. That's a good comment. So frame buffer luminance target represents the display target's peak luminance converted, right? Maybe we can get that from Vulkan itself. Maybe there's a way to get it. Too much const everywhere. So, and then the output. There we go. Lovely. UCS. Cool. So it does a tone mapping for each mapping curve for each channel, which is interesting. So this would be, so again, we actually probably want GT 7 time map passed in, so that's T. So be T dot curve. So maybe we just for loop it. It's on my hands today. All right. Yeah, so it'd be GT. Oh no, yeah, T dot curve. Yeah, GT7 time map curve. Evaluate, I think I called it. So I think it's V2 evaluate. Yeah. So it takes in the curve as the first parameter, followed by RGB. X, Y, then Z. Lovely. Now the next thing is to get it converted into UCS, this universal color space thing, which could be one of two color spaces. That's a configurable parameter. So it'd be like that. Then chrome scale. It uses the X component as some luminance value, I think. I've got this chrome curve. Oh, we ain't got that. We'll find that one. What's fade start mean? Right, it's in T, obviously, because it's got an underscore after it, of course. That seems to be their coding style. If it's got an underscore after it, means it's like a member variable, whatever you call it. Member field, I don't know. C++. So the chrome scale is applied to the green and the blue channels. It's a bit weird, but okay, we'll roll along with that one. We'll trust in this thing. Hey Alexa, how you doing? Evening. Is it C sharp? Nah, we never C sharp. I always need glasses. But I choose to not wear them because I look better without glasses, and glasses are just annoying. Yeah, I remember when I was a teenager, I got glasses. The first time it's like, you know, they're like, you know, you're short-sighted, you need glasses. I was like, okay, so I get these glasses, I wear them, and I looked ugly. So I already wore them. But yeah, no, I wear glasses for night driving because I do want to make sure I don't run someone over or put the car into a bush. Pretty sensible. But yeah, we don't see sharp because it's too much chip, too much. Yeah, it's too managed for my liking. We need that unmanaged C sharp, which is just C. Completely unmanaged. It's a bit like in Rust, right? What you want is unsafe Rust. But then when you use unsafe Rust, what you get is really annoying pointer syntax where doing stuff with your pointers is like complicated. You know, it's like offsetting bytes, isn't it? Isn't it an offset in bytes? Stuff like that. Anyway, yeah, better off choosing C. Because my bot didn't do it, so I've got to come in there and do it. Because when you see, you will see. Exactly. Alexa, you get it. You get it. But how's things been with you? What you been up to? Final blend between per channel and universal color, or whatever it's called. Universal what color? I lost it now. Color space, of course. Scaled results, right? This is gonna need some double checking, I think, because yeah, maybe I could have fudged this. It ain't good to fudge. Although fudge does taste nice. Oh, that vanilla fudge, man. Although if you have too much vanilla fudge, your mouth can taste quite bad after a while. Have I quite tried the blow language? No, I haven't actually. I haven't sent the message to John to tell him how much I love him. Hey, John, I love you. Send me access to the language. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I haven't done that yet. I don't know. I think John's got some cool ideas, you know, about the language and stuff. But I don't know, when I saw some of it, it looked like he was willing to not really care too much about the syntax, if you will. But then it feels like if you write a load of code in it, it'll be a right pain to switch over to some of the new syntax changes that he made. I don't know. But he has some cool ideas though. I liked yeah, he was putting some different ideas out there. And the problem is I think he took too long. Yeah, I do kind of love being silly, yeah. Although I am a very serious guy. It's weird. I like being silly and having fun like a child, but I'm also very serious in terms of like doing stuff properly. It's the most strange thing ever. But yeah, John, I think John, the problem is with John's thing is that he's taken too long to finish it, or at least get it to a standard where he can say, hey, everyone, come in and use my thing. And of course, he's inspired lots of other people by his original video. And now there's like a gajillion languages, probably caused by Jonathan Blow directly. Or indirectly is probably the better language to say. And then yeah, so now we end up with like 50 new standards to replace C, and one comes out every 5 minutes. But yeah, which is a interesting place to live in. Yeah, public beta might be this year. Fair play. Well, it's always it's a bit like the Linux desktop. Is it this year? The Linux desktop? Is it the year of the Linux desktop? Maybe. Yeah. Right, I think we made it. So I think rather than just reading all the code again, we can do that afterwards. Let's just try and get it in and see some nice pixels. Because it's much better looking at nice, oh, hopefully nice pixels. It's much better looking at nice pixels than just staring at code sometimes. And this is why we graphics program. Because programming is fun and all, but we like to make stuff look nice. So yeah, we like to see that visual feedback. Ah, we like that eye candy. That's the word I'm looking for. So what is this function? Well, it's the compute shader, and it is actually our visibility buffer shade because I stole this. I didn't steal it. That's a sin. I repurposed and carbon copied the graphic shade scene compute shader and turned it into, and I've just dumped a bunch of tone mapping code at the top. So this here needs to be changed out to read from the, should we do a sample or read? No, the scene, yeah, read from the scene. So it's RGBA 16 F for float, right? Good old GLSL. Then it's called, oh, yeah, we need to go to the graphics shared for a minute. Right, we need an input, a read-only texture. You know, we could make it a sampler though. Is it master blow? Isn't that word cancelled right now? How dare the VMT objects? Too busy hustling his game out where he seems to be running out of funds. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, main blow. I did not get the I did not internalize that's the way it would go. That was great. That was funny. Um yeah, no, I heard he had to borrow money, didn't he, to finish it. That's true. Yeah, the game's coming out soon. I'm wondering whether it's some kind of tooling for a quick migration. Yeah, didn't John talk about maybe being there some conversion thing? Maybe not. Like I think he had this idea that he might do something like that, but I didn't think he, or maybe he didn't. Yeah, the game comes out this year. He said he wants to release the engine too, but not sure. Yeah. I think I remember seeing that in one of those interviews that he's done recently too. Yes. All right, so we'll read from the scene. We'll just do a texture load or an image load. Right, so do a good old Morton Swizzle. We can't live without the Morton Swizzle. And we're going to read the scene color. And we'll do this for now. We don't want the X, we want the full thing. Yep. Now, so that's the standard color. Now we're going to do the SDR version, then we're going to add HDR support. And we should have time to do that today, which would be amazing. So then we'll store the color out into destination. Right, so we won't do the tone map just yet. Let's just make sure the graphics Vulkan, that's right. So there's a post-process thing right here. So we need to actually make that image. So we need to get a read only of that one. This is the scene image. Read only sync, please. And we would like oh, for crying out loud. Where do we create this thing? Right, so temporary allocate. Okay, we'll live with that. As he explains, basically making games is a priority as of now, so then he can have enough money to continue working on the language. Whatever ideas. Yeah. Besides commercial things, yep. So this one's probably not going to be a color attachment, but definitely storage and sample properly. Right. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Now we want to, what we could do is, what a shaded. Right, post process. Lovely. 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 BK internal. Right, so we're going to add to this lovely X macro to compile a new shader. Oh, graphics programming. Aren't you amazing? No. Graphics programming is so verbose. Oops. Okay. Now, one more thing is that we do use the the scene shaded image in the UI, I think. Yes, so here we go. So there's like these image IDs, which is basically just an enum. And when we draw, lay out all the UI, we can say, hey, put this image here, and this image ID is like a remap table basically in the shader. So when we read a command which says, hey, render this image, we remap it to the actual texture, or sorry, the actual image that it comes from or whatever. So yeah, so texture means a sampled image in GLSL. So that's why we see the word texture here. So we need to swap that out. Oh crap. Yep. For post process image ID. There we go. Because that's the one we actually want to see on the screen now. I think that's right. Cool. So let's give it a compile. I think we did call. All right, see what happens. Oh, so close. So there's no compute shader. Okay, so what I did there is clearly fail. I got rid of the CS extension. So I didn't know whether it was, the GSL extension. So I didn't know whether to compile it or not. Cool, so now it's failed to compile some of those things. Let's just get in there and give it a good old fix. All right, much better. Oh, so this is why my syntax highlight was broken. I didn't have the proper extension. Of course. Anyway. So that would then be... Right, so C is not declared, so 73. So I didn't pass a C in, so this will be the tone map curve. Alright, so good first step there. Why didn't that wanna... Yeah, I think I've got a bug in my... I've got a few bugs in my build system, but anyway, to a later date. You just shut the thing down, rerun it again, it works. So yeah, I think I know how to fix the bug, so I just live with the bug for now because it takes time to fix. Right, 109. Yeah, there's some cases where like if the build fails to if it fails to build and it doesn't like watch the file again or something like that, or anyway. I No, it does do that. Or I think maybe it's like when you, I don't know. Doesn't matter anyway. So 125 is the next one. Or else this one can play. Oh yeah, the default parameters, is that right? So interesting. Default parameters are pretty cool, not gonna lie. But they're not needed. There's so much STD in this code. A lot of STD. Oh, I was just complaining about. Oh, yeah, it's got a pointer in there. It's not very nice. Right, how we're looking. Oh, nearly there. 6, 7. Right, these want some 1.0s as well. Oh, LMS, that sounds familiar. Yeah, that's that color space. Right, what's this complaining about? Right, is this tone map curve? Oh, I called it GT7 tone map curve, didn't I? Yes, 277. Right, nearly there. No second parameter, that's all good. Then it expects a T to be passed in, and the is HDR can be dropped. Does not return a value A. This one. Right, so GT7 tone map. Nearly there. 330. This chroma curve, remember we didn't have it. So I must have not. Phew, they have it, which is good. Oh, it's just smooth step. 1 minus smooth step, interesting. Right, how much of a thing is this? Right, 1 minus smooth. I don't know why. Code is just not written as that then. Right, so there's an out parameter is not allowed in a nested scope, whatever that means. Have a look at that. Oh, right, okay. The variable is called out. So in this case, it's just the final color. So we'll just call it C, I guess. So C. My eyes. Cool. What we have is something that's not tone mapped, but at least it's still rendering, which is the main point. So what have we done since we've put all the tone map code in and it compiles, and we've added a new post-processing image, which is a direct copy of the scene shaded image, and it renders it into the game window. Now we can make the change to simply okay, we've seen it enough. It's too bright for my liking. I won't be quick enough to change it. So we're gonna use SDR since we only have an SDR screen right now, but we're gonna be making a HDR output swap chain output afterwards. So we'll do the SDR one. And this is the reason why one of the reasons why we're using GT7 is because it has both a HDR and an SDR one, such that when we make content, it should look kind of similar. They're the same sort of style of tone mapper, right? Which is nice. So we initialize one of these GT7s. You know, I don't even know, what's even the point of this? You know what I mean? Is it so you can if-def some of the code out? I feel like we should just have a function called, yeah, we're not going to tone map. Like, what I feel like we should do is have, it's just too many functions. You know, let's just live with it. I've already written it now. Make it better later if need be. So we'll just call it T. So there you go, there's your boy. Then you got your evaluate function. Evaluate, you pass in the T and you pass in the values. So I think it's just color, right? And we only want RGB. So we say color.rgb equal that, yeah? And then we output color. Right, so see how that goes. Nice name, didn't you know Riz was religious? Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, so, hey Dr. Morak, welcome back. It's been a while, how you been? Yeah, so, you know, I've always said that I'm Christian for the past, I don't know, like 4 years, but I would say it just on Sundays, you know, been to church. But I wouldn't really speak about it much because I don't really sort of believe. Um, and yeah, but I think about 7 months ago, what it was now, maybe longer, 7, 8 months ago, I was, yeah, started to believe more and seek God and learn more, really read my Bible a lot. And, you know, trying to dodge getting laid off. What do you mean? What do you mean trying to dodge getting laid off? Don't know if that makes any sense. Oh, you're trying to get, oh my, wow. Are you trying to get replaced by AI by any chance? Have you got one of those bosses? Or have you done something naughty? But yeah, if you want the full story of where I've been and things like this, I've made a little presentation for all, you know, it's targeted at the people who watched me before, but everyone's free to go and watch it. It's available on Twitch as Sunday's stream. It's the first stream in a while. A nice big presentation. It's about 2 hours. I think it goes for about 3 hours long, but the presentation is around 2 hours. And yeah, we go over where I've been, what I've been doing, why, what some big changes. Oh crap, what's going on here? Crap. We still going? Here we are. Hello. Yeah, why am I very overexposed? Let's turn these lights down a bit. It is a bit late. Just playing politics, being a hero. Classic. Yeah. You have to in the workplace a lot of the time you have to always, it's a choice between sometimes playing it safe, um, isn't it? Sometimes doing, yeah. Yeah, sometimes you need to do the right thing, isn't it? Um, and it doesn't always align with everybody's opinions, if you will. And there's lots of people's opinions. Or the other fun one is there's like tons of people's opinions and they don't all align, and you have to find somewhere in the middle. And you're like, oh, this is such a hard job. Yeah, there's a Sunday stream if you're interested in seeing more details. What's going on here? Can I write buffer without a file name? Right. Let's try and give this one a go. You know what? Maybe there's different buffers open. I know now. Right, so we comment that out. Does it change? We should really... Good. Yeah, it does change. We should really keep it still light because it's not helping. Where's my... The problem is the sky is based on time, isn't it? It's the G term. Oh, it's sun direction. Right. So... Can we stick it like... What can we do? Let's just do 10. Right, 1. They're not recompiling. There we go, it's fixed now. I don't know why I didn't recompile, but there you go. Right, whatever that blob meant to represent. This doesn't look very nice. Alright, let's go to the post-process. So let's get rid of that. Okay, so that's what it would look like before. And then after the post-processing, it looks like this. Something... Hang on a minute. Why isn't it recompiling? Just looks like an egg yolk. You know, this could very much look like an egg if this black bit wasn't here. So now we can have a little gander to see what's going on. So have we got all the parameters right, I guess is the question. What does this do? Oh no, they're enumerations, right? I see. So it's a big old egg yolk. All right, what does this do? Interesting. Yeah, so this frame buffer to physical value. Right, okay. So I guess we'll look at the... Let's keep that running. And we'll compare the codes. So initializing the curves and stuff. So it's just basically, right, so they're just set in there, then peak linear. Yes, nothing's changed there, all good. The evaluate, we've got a smooth step. Is the smooth step different? Maybe. You know, the parameters the wrong way around, maybe? Edge, yeah, see the edges are different, I think. So the edges in here, yeah, are first. We could have been there for days. But I think I have a vague memory of having that. I think it's like when I made my shader compiler, I remembered that maybe the different languages did different. I don't know what it was, but there's a memory of this happening in the past. Right, so just got to change all those smooth steps the other way around because the code is not written for that. Right, so we changed those. That's way better. I think that's basically fixed it. Look at that. Doesn't that look nice? So we compare that. But anyway, we've still got to check the code, right? We can't just be like, but yes, that's what it is without the tone mapper at this point. And as you can tell, it's already getting way too bright at the top. Now we put the tone mapper on and it sort of softens out the image and we can really still see these colors still, which is great. But anyway, let's keep going. We can always change the time as well and see. You know what could be fun? We could add a little sign. We all like sign. Sky shade. If we use time, but we chuck it into sign. Now, we want it to be at least 1 probably, but then go to 2, right? So I think what we can do is just, there's sin in my code now. The fallen world, I guess. So we want to do times 0.5 plus 0.5, because sign is minus 1 to 1, the return. So we want to make it to go 0 to 1, and then we can add 1 to get it to 1 to 2. Yeah, so now if we run that, I don't know why some of the shaders are not recompiling. That's annoying. So sine minus 1 to 1, isn't that right? Shouldn't it be flipping a bit more? Oh no, we might need to change it by, times it by 10 to make it go faster. Too fast. Let's try 3. Now maybe, yeah, maybe it's up it by 0.7. Alright. Maybe infinity 2 is not great. It's a bit too fast actually. Yeah, it's going a little bit past 1 is probably fine. Now, maybe we'll keep it going slow. Yeah, let's so we want to make it such that the set speed is probably good. We probably want to, We probably want to make it like 0.8 at most, maybe. And then up it by, yeah, so min 0.2, max 1. Max 0.4, max 1.4, something like that. Okay, let's try that. So 1.2 is the max, yeah. Yeah, so it doesn't go too dim and we can see it. Cool. I guess that'll be alright. Let's leave that going. That looks nice. Yeah, so we take off the tone mapper. We're back to there finally. So it looks like this. It's already brighter and then it gets way too bright. And as you can tell, that sort of sun in the middle, yeah, it kind of just stays. Big blobby sun, and all the light is very clamped. So to make that out, it all has to be darkened in some way. Maybe not. Interesting, yeah. Right, let's take a look at the yeah, maybe we got to change the exposure value as well on this on the sky generation. Anyways, so let's double check. So the curve code looked fine after we monkeyed around with it. Sorry, it was the smooth step, wasn't it? Okay, it's cool, cool, cool. Right, let's keep going. So yeah, there's this toe mapped thing, as they called it. So nothing sort of that pops out here that changed. I guess PAL, yeah, should be the same. This stuff we just didn't really change much of. We can skip all that. I think it just, yeah, stood PAL. Exponent log 2. Log 2, yep. Right, these we didn't change too much either. We had to add the default values there, but that's okay. Default value of 1. And there's maxes, right? Listed things were maxes. Out we go. Yeah, these we just basically added return values. Nothing too fancy. Same thing here. Right, then the final bit. So there was like a common initialized parameters thing. We pass an in-out thing of structure in because it's not we haven't got classes, right? Plus we don't use classes anyway. So we use that physical target luminance conversion thing. Did the tone map curve initialization to the values that they provided. Initialize these guys, yep. And create this RGB from the luminance target. Yup. Then create the universal color space thing. Then only use the X field there. Good, good, good. Right, so HDR just as one initialize. We haven't used this one yet, but we'll be using it soon. And then apply. Oh yeah, then SDR does this stuff here, which all looks good. The applied tone mapping is RGB to UCS. Evaluate curve for RGB Y, X, Y, Z separately. Same curve but different input values. Reduces a vector 3. Then skewed UCS. Yup. Then this chrome scale is basically one takeaway smooth step. And the smooth step, wait a minute, what the chrome curve parameters, are they the same? X, AB, yeah, X, AB, yeah, good. So yeah, so chrome, where is it? Chrome curve, I said, yep. So we just put that towards the end. So that's UCS.X divided by this thing, yep. Cool. Then scaled UCS is, now this is one which looked a bit weird. So it's the skewed UCS just for the X component. And then UCS multiplied by this chroma scale. Okay. Now scaled RGB is that scaled UCS. Yep. Right thing. Then for each component, blended ratio, yep, times skewed, yep, times blend ratio, yep. Output. Excuse me. And then the min function. And then T dot this thing, lovely, lovely. So that looks good. So it seems like we've got the right code for this. Very, very nice. Okay. Cool. So the next thing to do then is I guess we'll do the HDR. We'll get HDR in, and then I think in a future stream, so probably there's actually gonna be a stream tomorrow, as well, by the way. Tomorrow 2 p.m. GMT plus 0. And I think we'll set up the scene for doing bloom. I think we'll build like that like a triangle of different colors, basically, like a barycentric. Is the one that people do. GT7 tone map test. Well, tone map shader toy. We've got a simple mesh renderer. By mesh, I mean triangle renderer. It's terrible. But we'll build something like this, where we just have a bunch of different emissive lights, and we'll put them up on the scene with the sky there in the background, and we can test out the tone mapper as well when we put bloom in and do this, right? But yeah, in the meantime, we'll get HDR all plugged in to output to HDR color target. And then we'll probably mess around with the exposure as well in this sky shader that we've got. Because if we just did this, right, color dot RGB times equal 0.1, I think we did it when we was testing it out. You'll see it kind of, yeah, I think we've got to basically mess around with the exposure of the scene because it's just a bit overexposed. Anyway. Right, so let's sort out the HDR color targets. So what you'll find out in Vulkan is should be quite easy. Is when you make your render swap chain, I think there is we go searching for these things. Let's find it. Well, yeah, here we go. The surface format. Let's go. So what we want to do is make a HDR one. Now I don't know what that one is. I think it's 1010 1010 2. Yeah, anyway, we'll find it. So what you'll see is there's a bunch of, I think there's like surface capabilities. If you look in this guy, there's a formats. No, there is a surface formats. We basically can get the surface formats, go over all of the supported surface formats for the swap chain, but see if there's HDR supported. If there is, we'll use that. If not, we'll use SDR. So let's figure this one out. So we want to VK swap chain formats. There's a way to get them. Surface formats KHR. I think we've already got a function for this. No. All right, so we'll put that as another instance function and we'll get these guys. So yeah, surface capabilities. So I think you call this function like twice because it's an array of stuff, right? That's the way Vulkan does it. So it's like, is you passing your physical device, and you pass in the surface, and you pass in the number of surfaces, sorry, number of formats. Surface formats, count. You pass in null the first time. There's a count. You take the address. So the first time you call it with null, saying don't output anything, give me the number. And then the number gets what comes out here. I think this returns a VK result, probably does. So we want to do a sort of a log error thing with the expression. So it logs an error if there's a problem. And then we handle the error here to say, hey, by the way, do that. Then we can now allocate. So we're going to allocate those VK surface format array. So it's surface formats. And I think we've got an allocator, allocate array T. So that T would be this guy. Yep. The allocator, I think we've got a temporary allocator called frame allocator. For some reason, that's the name, but there we go. And then the count is obviously the count that we retrieved from the previous call of the function. Now we've got the array allocated. We call it again and get the actual yeah, get the actual data. Now we can actually scan and find the HDR target. So what we basically want is what is the format we want to use for the so we'll do like where are we going? Yes, I think I'll write SDR here so it's explicit, yeah. So now we just do a lovely for loop over the surfaces, right? So we'll do a surface formats index dot, so the format is equal to VK, sorry, GPU VK surface format HDR. Lovely. We can then probably accept this as the format. Now there is a second thing on here, which is there's a color space, which is also interesting. So what we're looking for is, I think it's HDR 10. Why is there so many of these things? Right. So there's a blog post we can find, which helps us. So I think it's called Vulkan HDR 10 minutes. It's made by the guy who makes the Spartan engine, I think. I remember seeing it before. There's a blog. It was the Spartan engine, I think it was. Is that what he calls it? There you go. Why is Google so bad? I guess it's probably not the word Vulkan in there. Anyway. So it's got the conversion stuff as well, which we can use, which would be great to do the conversion between Rec 709. Oh, that's another thing as well. We wanted to use DCI-P3 on it. Yeah, for our renderer. But yeah, so there's a... Why did I want to look at this? Yeah, color space. Right. So I guess we can go to GPU... Vulkan GPU info. Now if we look at something like on Windows, a graphics card of some kind. Gaming laptop. I don't know. Let's have a look at it. Surface formats. Yeah, so this one only supports this one here. Okay. Yep. So Unon Pack 32. Lovely. Yeah, so what we want is... So others are technically possible. Interesting. Yeah, so I guess what we're scanning for is... Let's just scan for the HDR format. If we find it, we'll just use it. Let's just do that for now. I guess it's... Right, but you have to select the right color space though as well. Yes. Okay. Okay. So we also want a color space as well. Hey host. Are we? Yes. Yes, we are. No, I've been, I guess a lukewarm Christian for a long time, but I really started taking it seriously, and that's why I took a pause. Because you know, because as the Bible says in Matthew 6:33, it says, "But first seek the kingdom of God and His righteousness. Then all these things should be added onto you." And obviously, that's talking about, if you go to the Bible, Matthew 6, it's talking about that's just before when Jesus says about the birds, where he says, God looks after all the birds and all the other animals, which are worth far less than human beings. Probably upset some vegans there, but there we go. And he's basically saying, if God can look after these animals, He'll look after you. But first seek the kingdom of God and His righteousness. Then all these things will be added onto you. So, um, yeah. I was just getting my priorities straight, basically, putting God first, because at the end of the day, it's idolatry when you put something else above God, right? Um, and it's the same with pride as well, right? You can be prideful because you put your own, you have, you give yourself credit above God, you know, yeah. So, or you try and take the credit where it's God's credit and stuff like that, or you try and put someone else above God in your life, um, you know, and yeah. So it's just reshaping my life a bit and putting that stuff first, because yeah, it's the right thing to do. But it's interesting though. Do you love this one? All right, yeah, I think it's healthy to have God in the back of your mind. Exactly. Um, I'm not sure if you know this, but in the Bible, you've got basically things always go in the pattern of kind of there's this sort of slavery, if you will, or sort of like, not got your own freedom. Then there's the Exodus, and then there's the Promised Land, right? So in the Bible, same thing. You got the Israelites, they were sort of in Egypt, they were enslaved, and then God broke them out, and they went into the wilderness. They actually got taken right to the Promised Land right away, but they went in there. It was Caleb, Joshua, and a few other people, and they saw giants, and they got really scared. But Caleb and Joshua knew they could trust God, and they knew it would be fine. So they went back, all of them, to tell the Israelites. They were like, "There's giants. There's no way we can beat them." And obviously, Caleb and Joshua were trying to say, "No, no, no. We can trust in God and get our promised land." And then the then what happens is basically most of the Israelites, if not all of them, did not want to go and fight and get into the promised land because they couldn't trust God that they could win. Now, so God basically sent the Israelites round in the wilderness for like how I forget how long it is, either 40 more years or it was 80 years. I kind of forget what it was. You have to kind of look in the Bible yourself. But then finally afterwards, after that whole generation had passed, because they're the generation who rejected God's God was saying to them, you will be able to go and take this promised land, and they didn't believe. Well, they basically managed to take the promised land when Caleb and Joshua were like getting old now, and they got to see the promised land, their generation and below. And then they went into the promised land. And this is basically the pattern of life. We have our sort of, for lack of a better term, that sort of moment in our life where we're under our parents' rule. I guess you call it the slave place in your life where you're sort of not in control of your own life, if you will. Then you have your exodus, where you come out. Now you're growing up and you've got to learn. You have freedoms, but God wants you to learn to put your trust in Him to take you to the promised land. And if you want to reach the promised land in your life, much better off doing it with God, basically. Because if you do it without God, you probably won't maintain it, and you'll end up straight back in the wilderness again. You know, and the same thing goes for culture as well, and countries. You know, the West is in the promised land. It has been for a long time. But we're kind of going back to the wilderness because we've got wilderness thinking coming in. You know, we're not putting our trust in God. We think we can do it ourselves. And yeah, the world's quite crazy right now, as you can tell. You need more promised land thinking. Good fun. But yeah, put God first. If you're interested in seeing hosts, I've got a video on the Twitch channel on Sunday. That stream talks about where I've been, what I've been doing exactly in detail. And yeah, it's a good watch. It's a couple of hours. I'm sure you can fit in a couple of hours worth of squats in there. Lift some weights. You know, be good. Right. There's our boys. Okay. We're actually looking for both of those. Just saying if that and the color space one as well. Then format equal that and color space. What's the default color space for non-linear? Actually, I've already got it overnight. It's what's that thing? It's a song. Yeah. I can play it. I can't really play it. Can I play it? Yeah, I'll play for the stream. Your presence is heaven. It's a good song. It's the song that's in my mind at the moment. Can we play it? This one. It's a good song. Yeah. My current one I'm listening to. Where are we going? Guess we're playing it now. It'll be desktop audio. Yeah, Hero Dev was it? Yeah, that's right. That's right. I actually forgot myself what it was. Oh, why doesn't it want to work? Let's get my headphones in. Oh, we deleted it. So sRGB non-linear. SDR format, SDR color space, lovely, lovely. So we initialize first with the SDR because it's always going to be there, right? We seek for the HDR if it's there, or use it. Lovely. Now I've just got to make sure, right? Because we make image views. So we've initialized this prop chain like that. But the image views you see, I got to use the VK format as well. Now here's the beautiful thing. It should work, but it's probably going to look very ugly maybe. So the UI shader encode to surface. This one expects it to be RGBA. Yeah, RGBA. So what we basically need is a HDR version of this, where it takes the HDR UI render target and then PQ turns it into PQ basically. Yeah. So I think we'll rename this. We'll rename it's in UI, isn't it? Yeah, so we'll have a HDR version and an SDR version, then based on is heaven to me. Right, here we go. So now you have to do this sort of conversion. Now here's the thing, right? Remember we were like in the stream on my planning stream that we did on Sunday, we were like, yeah, we don't want to use Rec 709 for the renderer. We actually want to use DCI-P3, which goes a little same amount of blues, but it has more greens and goes up to here, down to here, because HDR displays are DCI-P3, so we want our content to be in DCI-P3, and then if we need to bring it down into a SDR display, we'll do some like clamping and stuff like that. But we haven't gone and done that yet, where we use DCI-P3. So once we've got HDR working locally here, we can change this to work that way. Yeah, so we want basically a function like this. Where's the white point used? Alright, okay. So we need to basically go from Rec 79 to 2020. So I think I might just Can we ask it for like no matrices? I don't really like those. You do like a dot product, right? No matrices, please. Not matrices, please. I guess broken English will work. Good, that's a good one. But you see, the CIA isn't onto me, so we're kind of different. But yeah, maybe similar levels of crazy. We can talk conspiracy theories if you want. I'm on board. What conspiracy theories are you going to talk about? I love me a good conspiracy theory. Yeah, I'm just going to fill me up another drink. I'll be back.
Jesus at the center of it all. From beginning to the end, it will always be, it's always been you, Jesus. Jesus. Everybody say Jesus.
Right here. Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay. Yeah, I think we'll get this linearized input, not already linearized. Of course it is. Linearized. Right. Reapply gamma. You've already got that. Right. This is our boy. So what we want is a function, which is basically going to be 4, I guess. Direct vec 3, I guess. So yeah, rec 709. Oh, sorry, rec 2020 from rec 709. Yep. So vec 3 and then the valley, right? So it's just basically a dot product. Don't know why I put it in separate variables. But anyway, we're just lovely. Return rec 2020. Yeah. Now, so what we need to do in the HDR one is take our color. We don't do sRGB from linear anymore. Instead, we do, hey, go to rec 2020 from 709. So we go into that larger color space, because that's the Wait, hang on a minute. No. Ah. Yeah. Because the tone mapper GT7 tone mapper wants it in Rec 2020 space. So I think we're gonna have to convert it from DCI P3 to Rec 2020, then back to DCI P3 again. Render the UI in DCI P3, and then convert from DCI P3 to Rec 2020 again. But yeah, I think we're just gonna have to do those conversions. But anyways, it's okay. Should be fine. Right, but for our case right now, since we just used Rec 709 everywhere, we're gonna yeah. So then it wants us to do a PQ conversion as well, right? So now from how about Rec 2020 to PQ, right? So that's what this is here. Very similar. Let's drop that. Yeah, it's got them as these globals in it. Very similar. Oh. I didn't do it vectorized. Strange. Yeah, why didn't this do it vectorized? Anyway. So it's normalized the HDR color values from the ST curve. Okay. Where's the normalization happening? So yeah, it sort of does the same thing, doesn't it? Yeah. The M2. Okay. So regarding yeah, this is quite good. It's just got this. What will white point be? White point would be like 0.5, wouldn't it? Or can't be that, surely. What would it be? Man, it's really thinking hard. Yeah, this is quite good. This is basically it. So we want our PQ conversion as well, right? So I want to say PQ. And this is like the equivalent of saying sRGB from linear, right? It's that sort of clamping down to the HDR target. So all right. And then we just take in our color. The ABS of color, okay. Playing it safe. Right, as the AI thought. So since Rec 79 and Red 2020 already are the same D65 white point, you don't need a chromatic adaptation matrix like Bradford or okay. However, White point usually refers to the graphics white, which the nit level where SDR white is placed in an HDR container. Standards like BT 2408 recommend an SDR white at 203 nits. Right. Input Rec 709. I convert to Rec 2020. Yep. White point nits divided by this. Yeah, exactly. That's what. Right. So it's similar to what this one did. Exactly. Yep, that's it. Then PQ input. So I guess you sort of make that configurable. Let's drop this in here. The white point scaling. SDR. Yeah, but this is mapping SDR content, isn't it? Whereas we're not passing in. Right, so if you have SDR content, you want to scale it. Okay. Oh, yeah. So that's when you get that slider in the game that basically says what. Right, I think. If you have SDR content, how bright do you want to make it, basically? Yeah. I think that's what that's saying. Not really, because it's bringing it down, isn't it? Maybe. Map SDR to HDR reference white. Oh, yeah, it is that. Okay, that's interesting. So we probably want to have a way to. So that's basically scaling. Maybe we have another. We'll make another function, but we won't use it yet. So this will be known as like HDR from SDR, and we'll just pass in just a color. Right, it's just some white point scaling. And you probably want to make this configurable. I think I've seen a value quite commonly at 250 actually. So yeah. Anyway, there's color. There's a nits. Anyway, I'm not sure if we'll use that. So maybe though. It will have to be. I think this will have to be used before when we render anything like UI elements. We'll have to use this function basically, right? To do. Yeah, I think we'll do that quick today. Yeah, so PQ from. So right here we go. So color equal this. Now, how do we output this? Well, we need to use the special GLSL thing for that. So I don't know. What is the 1010? So if I go to GPU VK, I got a, sorry, in shared I think it is. I think RGBA, I've got to make another descriptor array for this. So that'll be, right, RGBA 10 underscore 2, yeah. RGB 10 underscore A2, alpha 2. So that's the one that we're writing out to. So if you're just using a pixel shader, you wouldn't have to do this, but we're not. So this is what you do. Now I don't flip, yeah, I still flip the Y, and we use like the bottom left origin for everything. 3D and 2D is bottom left. Flip the Y, says top left again for the swap chain, and amazing, and voila. So now that's all in place. We could test it out. That would be interesting. We could test it out. And yeah, let's go over to here. Now we want to actually go to UI VK. We want to add encode to surface SDR and encode to surface HDR. And we want to go into the build script. And we want to find that same thing. SDR, HDR. Now, we've got to obviously use those things as well. So where we used to use it, oh, it's here. So what we need to do is select the right shader. So we need to say, hey, if we're doing, oh, I think this might need a different, yeah, different set of push constants. So it was a RGB 10 underscore A2. Yep. Then, cool. So in the SDR version, and then in the HDR version, cool. Lovely. Now, we need to if statement this. So if we're rendering in HDR, so where could one get such information from? Well, we have access to the surface right in here. Surface image, there's our boy right there. So if we get the format of this, we can figure out if it is HDR. We can say if, and we might need to know if it's HDR before, such that we can maybe apply some scaling and stuff, actually thinking about it. So surface image. Yeah, so I think right here, we'll go Boolean is HDR, and we'll just basically say, right, if a GPVK format, yep, so it'd be the surface, if that is equal to GPU VK surface HDR, then most probably using, oh crap, did it wrong, didn't I? No? Well, I messed that one up maybe. Hey, Zebiz Naga, welcome back. Yeah, no more Linuxes anymore. It's sad. Well, yeah. So long story short, I ported it to Wayland, and then Renodoc didn't work, and then I was like, do I juggle 3 different window abstractions, and on top of what I'm already doing, or do I park Linux to the side for a bit, just use Windows and get stuff into a good place with the graphics and things, and then yeah, maybe come back and do Linux later. Just depends, but I'm not sure. Um, we'll see. We'll just see where, like, because at the end of the day, it's more important to do other things. But I do obviously love Linux and miss Linux. You know, it's so much faster and there's less stuff running in the background and stuff like that. But every time it's the year of the Linux desktop, stuff just always gets messed up, you know? Bit sad. All right. I see. Hmm. Hmm. Right. So this has to get moved here. And we remove these guys. So I'm still keeping it in the code base, but the code has rotted and I'm not bothering to touch anything to do with Linux. Fix it. And whenever I go back, I'll just port it to Linux again, fix all the problems. Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, it's sad though. There's always some, you know, because the problem is like people will go and use stuff, your X11 application on Wayland, and it won't work sometimes. Especially if you're doing like multi-Windows stuff and yeah. Anyway, so it's the way it is. But you know, it's great that the Steam Deck is on Linux. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool for sure. But yeah, perhaps, you know. Alright. RGB 1082. Cool. Here we go. That's the SDR version. So RGBA 8 Snorm. Oh, cool. Right, so I think that's everything in place just to test it out. Let's see if HDR works. Static keyword has been reserved. Oh no. A reserved keyword. What am I gonna do? Let's get rid of all that crap. Float 3, right, that's HLSL stuff. How dare thee use HLSL stuff in a... Oh. Oh yeah, I wrote that line manually. At the start of the line manually. Right, here we go. What you complain about now? Why is there no overloaded PAL? Right, because you need to vec 3. They need to both be the same type. They didn't do the vector and scalar versions for some reason. Because it was so difficult to put in apparently. Anyway. Come on. Nearly there. So right, yes, these are vector 3s. So luckily we can do the swizzle. Swizzling is cool. So RGB, RGB, and right. So we just got a white display and it's crashing my GPU. Hopefully the stream is still running. We'll find out. What a shame. Oh, we need a color space extension. And we're still going. Isn't it lovely? So we need this guy now. So let's get in there. So GPVK, we'll find the extensions. So this is instance extensions, maybe, is it an or one? That there must be an, is this a device? It's an instance extension, okay. So along with this one, if present Cool. So we check that one on. Yep. Enough room in the array. Oh no, there's not. Let's put a fourth one. Lovely. But you might not want. Yeah, this one would ensure that they have a. That doesn't. They wouldn't have to have HDR to have that. That's cool. Right, what is this complaining about? Extension not present? How sad. Oh, whoops, I deleted the surface one. Wow, it works. So it looks incredibly weird now, but it works. Yeah, this is actually getting bright on my screen like it's HDR content now. Which is cool. But yeah, I'm not sure how this looks on stream. Let's see if I can see how it looks on the stream, just for my sake, I guess. Yeah, it's definitely coming up more clamped color, like there's a lot more range on my machine. These yellows, there's actually like a clear fade between them. But that's cool. But at least it works. Now, yeah, we probably want to add a way to like force HDR, sorry, force SDR or HDR, you know, to have the option between those. Now, yes, the UI. So on my screen, the UI is reasonably. Okay. The way the mouse cursor looks in HDR content is always weird. Always so dark. Yeah, so this content looks very bright. Now, in comparison to stuff in the background. If I put that scaling on it, I'm not sure for you guys, you can't probably see it because it's probably clamping, but it's weird. So if I did this, how would that look? Does it affect? Surely I only want to do it on the UI elements and not the game, right? I don't know. Leave these up, see if it changes. Well, I'm not seeing a difference. Okay. Why am I not seeing a difference for those? It's definitely working, isn't it? It will say color.r equal 1. Not recompiling. Why? What? Were we outputting using the wrong... Is it using the wrong... It's not even using the shader, is it? Let's go over to the SDR one. Right, color.r equal red. Oh crap. It's using the SDR shader on HDR. Funny. That's because we've got it hard coded. Right, that was a good test. So that's probably because we've got the format hard coded. So, yeah, I reckon when we make the surface inside GPVK, is I could create surface or something like that. Or surface in it. This guy. Yeah, it fixes the format, I think. No? I don't know. How does this get a format then? Oh, okay. The format is unset. Okay. So that means then on the surface image, is there a surface image? I think there is. We need to store it in there. Yeah, so I think what we'll do is this. Okay, so we don't, yeah. We'll say surface image. Or image format. There we go. So now it's going to use the right shader. So it's outputting like sRGB values into... Right, that's better. This is so bright. Wow. My face. But for you guys, it's not. There's so much range in this. Wow. What's going on here now? Yeah, so for you guys, it's just clamped. There's a lot more pinks and stuff here for me. Right. Cool. All right. What are we going to next then? SDR, HDR. Don't do. Yeah, so the HDR shader. Yeah, I wanted to test out this thing. Right, so the profiler shows up really weird there. Now, that might be because it needs the scaling on it. Oh, crap. Let's try the scaling out. Let's try that. Right, that works way better. This looks awesome now. And it looks very similar to what we had before now. Yeah, I think this is right. We need to keep this. But Do you have to scale everything? I think you do. Yeah, that's true, isn't it? So I've seen a default value of 250. That's quite common. Yeah, that does look a bit. It does look better. Right. Yeah, so I think we'll just drop this here. Yeah, we don't really need to do that. Call SDR. Yeah, well, I think we'll just call it. But do we want to do it to every single pixel or just the SDR content? That's the thing. Yeah, we have to everything, I think. Nice. So I think we want to say like, then like that white point scale. Lovely. Cool. Right, that's awesome. So yeah. Now the problem is our tone mapper. That's the one thing we didn't sort out actually. Quickly before we go, let's do that. The one thing is the tone mapper. So in post processing now, right? This tone mapper has probably been in the it's been in the wrong space, hasn't it, the whole time? It wants Rec 2020. That's the thing. It wants Rec 2020. So this is the reason why it's been kind of maybe not looking the best as well, because it's been in Rec 709 and not Rec 2020. So what we want. So can I get a how about a Rec 709 from. Right, let's get one of those. So the inverse of this basically. Let's prepare it. Right, 709 2020. Because we need to go the other way. Yeah, so your rows are a bit different for these values instead. Alright, let's get these lovelies. Cool. Now, so we're going to have to do these conversions back and forth, unfortunately. Maybe there's better ways to do it in the future, but for now, this will work. So we want to take our color, color.rgb equal this, color.rgb. So we went from Rec 709 color space to Rec 2020. And then we want to go back the other way when we're done with the tone map, because the UI content is currently in Rec 709. Now, what we want to also do is switch over to DCI-P3, and we'll basically just be making different functions next time, which will be, hey, go from P3 to Rec 2020, and then the other way around. And that way we'll have a wider color gamut when we're doing rendering in the scene and stuff and other things as well, like the sky. So let's try this out now. The colors should look different, and we can disable them and all right, the colors clearly look different. Or the lack of color is clearly I Rec 709'd it in there. Right, so let's see what difference it sort of has. Alright, so if we disable the conversions and do in Rec 709 space, I think we're better off with a still so let's go to the sun and make it a still time. So let's do 1, I think. Why is it not reloading? It's annoying. Right, so we've got this sort of color here, yeah? So if we go to the post-processing one, which we've made to date, what we can find, if we disable the conversion, yeah, it sort of looks different, right? This here looked a bit different. There is a clear difference. Okay. Oh, and we didn't use the HDR tone map as well. That's right. So we've got to kind of pass in, hey, we tone map in HDR. We're getting so close. So we want to go to graphics shared. We want to find post process. I guess we'll do U32, right? And say is HDR because you don't have booleans, which can work in there. So we go something like PC, so push constants is HDR equal 1 because it's not a boolean. Then if it's HDR, it's GT7 tone map HDR. Now we've got passed in some kind of value in there, but we'll come back for that. Let's just get the post process is HDR thing. Okay, so be in UIVK. Oh, we don't know if we're doing. Yeah, so how do you know if your render target is on HDR screen when you've got multiple windows? I think that's the question to ask, isn't it? How do you know if your window hopefully not. Yes, you have to because you've got a rectangle like on any window, and you have to know what window is going to render this scene image. So it's like I'm rendering this scene image, but the scene image has no idea of what window it's going to be rendering on, or what surface it's going to be rendering on. Because that's what the UI system does. Is the UI system says, "Hey, render this scene on here." That's fun. The fun problem to solve. But yeah, I guess we can say true for now. Let's just see how it looks. Physical target luminance. Yeah, where does he get that from? Right, it's HDR metadata. It's got this sort of minimax luminance thing. They even have a white point thing as well. Interesting. But that's an extension, isn't it? Or you can set. Right, it's just a way to set but not receive. So I guess you get that from the windowing system, maybe. Oh. Yeah, we don't need it. We can just hard code it, I think. Anyway. Well, if I look, so post-processing, we'll just hard code. I don't know, let's try 250 for now. We can always up it. Right, see how that looks. Oh, that looks nice. That looks way better. Well, I'm not sure if you guys can make it out because it's HDR, but if I monkey around with this, let's make it 450. Right, makes that way brighter. It goes up to 10,000. Interesting. Okay, anyways, just keep it 250 for now. Maybe it's not a good idea. Let's do 10,000. Anyway, because that's the maximum value. Yeah, let's do that. So if we disable, so I guess if we want to see what the difference is like, if we disable this, oh, yeah, we remove the Rec 2020 now. I did not see a difference. Did it even recompile? Yeah, it's recompiling. Hmm. Anyway. Cool. Yes, I think that will do. I don't know how we're going to solve that problem. Work out what sort of swap chain image. We don't even have access to the swap chain image at this point in post-processing. Maybe we need to wait till maybe we need to put this inside the after the acquire surfaces thing. So post-processing is done here. Then it does if we acquire surfaces, then this will do the VK acquire surface for all of the different surfaces we need to render to. And then it will render all of the UI windows here. So what we probably need is a way to say, right, for each of these given UI images or whatever, like which one of them is going on which window. And then from that, we can do the post-processing within. We can get the surface. Yeah, this is just a for loop over all the windows. It's not anything complicated. And render window. So maybe this needs to get deleted, basically. This function, or maybe turned into something slightly different. But we do the for loop in here to render windows, and we get the surface and for the window, and then we can know if it's HDR or not, and then do the post-processing in there. Right. Okay. Okay. That is something to do. But yeah, I think we'll to do move post-processing into the acquire swap chain if so we can work this out. Hey Orshai, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. Amazing. Oh, why's my machine frozen? This is not good. Okay, the program terminated, that's fine. We can live with that. Still streaming, right? Yeah, looks like I need to task manager my way out of this one. Oh, it's gone. See, when you bring up task manager, everything behaves. Hey, there's like an if statement in the Windows kernel. If task manager behave. Cool. Yeah, so we're at a reasonably good place now with that HDR now. So I think next stream, what we want to work on. So I'll be streaming tomorrow, by the way, 2 p.m. GMT. What shall we do tomorrow? Well, we want to get a few things done. We want to do something like... Oh, I can't find it anymore. This one, maybe. Yeah, this one. We want to create something like this out of our materials. Of our meshes. Just very simple materials that end up doing this sort of by... Is this barycentric? I think it is a barycentric thing. We just got this triangle of light sources, basically. You know? So we can make them emissive. And we can do bloom. Because that's what we ultimately want to work on, is bloom. And we can build our scene and simply, yeah, test out bloom, which we haven't ported over yet. So maybe tomorrow we can at least, yeah, I think we're going to be doing bloom. I think that was the plan according to my super lovely presentation that we did the other day, which is available on Twitch for those who want to give it a watch for a limited time. But we had a plan. And the plan consisted of... Oh yeah, we want to do the DCI P3 thing in it. So we probably switch over to using DCI P3 throughout the renderer, the sky renderer, and the sky renderer output needs to be in DCI P3, which is this guy, and the yep, And the post-processing process needs to be in DCI-P3, right? Move it to Rec 2020 from there. Yeah. Then we'll port the Bloom code over, which is this physically based Bloom. So I think we might get started on porting this over. I have the old code. We can bring it over. And that'll be cool. Amazing. Right, in the meantime, guys, if you have any questions or stuff you want to talk about off stream, we have Discord. Got some good chats going on there half the time. And yeah. For those who want to support the project, there is a Ko-Fi. You can see it further down below. I need to actually put the link in on the bot here, but there's a Ko-Fi at £5 a month. You can get access to the code base to run on your local machine on Windows 11, and there's more details on what hardware is needed and things on there. But yeah, thanks for everyone who's supporting the channel. Appreciate you guys. What else should we do? But yeah, right. I'll catch you all. I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thank you for coming by, and have a good evening. Bye bye.